Warzone, part of Team Unknown. Just came up here to do a deck profile after today. Went to regionals, Anaheim, but didn't pan out so well because it got overcrowded. Apparently a lot of people went there since like 7 in the morning. So anyway, went to one of the local tournaments around there that got spilled with a lot of the regional players that didn't get to enter like me. In total there was 64 players, so it was single elimination. And I got 9th place. I know it's not first, but you know what? Out of 64 people, knowing that you were able to go in a single elimination, I give myself some props. Alright? And this is the deck that I got World Qualifier for, and well, for the most part, the majority of it is, yeah, this is how I did it, World Qualifier and everything else. So it deserves its entitlement. And here today, brought to you by Team Unknown, is team member Taka. And the final 4th member, who we'll have a later video to have an introduction to. We went through the bowels of hell, and so much more to get this member. Not fun. I present to you the one and only DT Archlord.
We think it was fun.
Of course, Taka and his pet dragon would think it's fun. Hell is a fun place, apparently. As a Warzone, I'm more for war and carnage, not elimination and slaughter. But anyway, back to my deck profile. My deck is Dragunity Pulsar. You'll see exactly why, but to sum up, this deck has gotten me through a lot, and it is a great deck. Like, hands down, I've had so much fun making it, and I've had so much fun bringing it to what it is today. So let's move this along. Now, as any Dragunity deck would have, it has uno, dos, tres of ducks. Dragunity ducks just makes this deck so consistent and well. He's a core. He is a piece of this core. Heart and soul. Hands down. Dragunity, Phalanx in 3. Without him in 3, you will never have the consistency to always have him to discard for Ravine. It's just that simple. You need him. But at the same time, he provides the plus. So even though he's so heavy needed, he always provides the plus necessary to back up his support. Next, double Dragunity Arma Sullivan. Honestly, this card, I did not see its potential at first, only up until the last couple months, where I started really looking into this card and every other Dragunity monster they have. Knowing that you could just summon a Phalanx, tribute it to special summon this guy, and he himself brings back the Phalanx to sink into a level 8, you can't beat that. And among other plays, I've been using him with Dragunity Vadriana, where Vadriana would come out, bring out the Phalanx, send Phalanx to the grave, bring out this guy, and bring back that same Phalanx, have 2 level 6s, and go into a tomb, which I'll explain later. Sum it up, this guy takes away Valor play. If they Valor your ducks, you just tribute it to special summon this guy so you get your recycle play. No matter what, with him, you'll always have more consistency and control. Blackwing Zephyros. My. Such an ailment to this deck. It's so awesome. It's not even funny. Discard him with Ravine. I get the search for Phalanx. Play Ravine. And then, well, you already know I had Ravine on the field, so pop it back to hand. I may take the 400, but I recycled Ravine, discard the Phalanx, and get ducks. And go into my crazier shenanigans. Best card ever for this deck. And I only run 1. Because honestly, I ran 2 at a certain point. You don't need to. You really don't. And for other plays, it came out better at 1. Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. People were so big on thing where it was from 3 to 1. I'm sorry to say it, but the whole time that I had him, I only had him at 1. Even when I got my invite at 1. When I went to qualifier at 1. Never needed 3. And I'll explain why. Red Eyes Wyvern. Induce. Red Eyes Wyvern as a pair, they themselves recycle Redum. I always thought at one point or another maybe Redum might get hit, but in general, I just really never liked triple Redum. I just rather use Wyvern with Redum for the part that if he's in grave, I could reuse him when I lose a summon, say to Solemn Warning or Solemn Judgment. It's happened in the past where I've lost summons, but Redum would come back and help me in the situation I needed. So, whenever I lost a normal summon and got negated, these two would always bring out Redum for me, and I would always plus out of my situations. Light Pulsar Dragon. People have given up on this card. Oh man, dude, like, no joke, this card, there's so many different plays people have not really fully thought of with him. Example, Cannon Soldier play, obviously it doesn't work with him. If it tributes him, you won't get the effect because the next effect that happens is 400 points of damage. So he misses timing. There are cards that could allow you to control him on your turn to destroy him, but also be summoned with him in the same turn. I'll explain. I run so many lights and darks that you'll eventually see right now that I'm explaining to. I remove them for him. I synchro summon a Scrap Dragon. If I have a Redum engrave, Scrap Dragon targets first and then destroys. And when he destroys both cards at the same time. Nothing else happens. The last thing that happens is destruction. So unless effect activates from your opponent's part to actually make it miss timing, you will get the Redum from Scrap Dragon with Light Pulsar. That's just that simple. I've used it so many times to get Redum and then go into Light Pulsar and still have a Scrap Dragon to top it off. Double 28 beaters and a 25. You can't beat that. Divine Dragon Apocryph. Other decks may have considered him a minus. My deck is such a hardcore plus. Why? Ravine. I discard any card, get a Phalanx. If I have him in hand, I could just normal summon him, discard the Phalanx, and add any dragon from my graveyard to hand, which more than half the time I add a Redum. Oh, and yippee, he's a dark target, so I use him with Light Pulsar. It's not a minus for discarding from my deck. I'm used to discarding all the time. He just turns it into another plus that I could use and conventionally overpower, which I did today. Effect Veiler. I'm sorry to say it, even in this meta, I've had to use it at 3. I've seen it so many times where open-handed, it's always stopped to play. Yeah, sure, there's decks where it doesn't really hurt, but there's always a deck that runs one toolbox or one kind of engine that can be stopped by Veiler. So no matter what, it always has a function, even in the meta we're in right now, that we're stepping in especially. Malefic Stardust. People say this card's a dead draw at times, but not gonna lie, I've never dead drawed him personally. Between Terraforming and Ravine, he is always necessary. Why? A free level 8 summon who protects my field. More than half the time I play Dragon's Ravine, I'll pay the cost and then the MST. That's why I just play Ravine, special summon him. The second he gets summoned, they could chain to try to destroy Ravine, but it won't happen. So in other words, he's always happening in the sense where he protects and he's just a damn great beater. And now, more often than not, if I don't synchro a Phalanx with him to make Trident Dragon, I exceed him with another level 8 to go into the Heretic, the rank 8. Dragon Ravine. Heart and soul to this deck. It turns any top deck situation or even main hand situation into more than just pluses. This card literally functions as such a great engine for this deck between both the effects. I've never been in a position where, even without it, I've won, but with it, it makes things so much easier. But Triple Ravine, being at the way it is and how strong and consistent it is for Dragunity and Dragon, this deck literally unifies the best of both worlds. Terraforming. Why? Because honestly, thanks to this card, this deck is technically considered a 37 card engine. I admit, yeah, sometimes I have to deal with a Thunder King, but more often than not, I get rid of that Thunder King one way or another, and I'll end up going off with Terraforming to go into Ravine. Because of this, it's an easy cost with no minus. 1 for 1, and it's giving me a card that like totally fastens up my deck. Like how much?
All the time.
Foolish Burial. Honest, like no joke, great card. If I'm not using it for Zephyros, I'm using it for a Wyvern. If I'm not using it for a Wyvern, I'm using it for a Light Pulsar to discard a Line of Dark. Hands down, card's great. Hands down, there's no reason to not run it. Drag Connection. A friend of mine gave me an idea a while back that maybe I should start running these. Oh man, these things came up so much. Main reason why. Light Pulsar Dragon is a level 6. Dragunity Arma Mesillivan is also a level 6. If I don't have the Light and Darks in my grave, I always have a Drag Connection to always swap out between one or the other. If I have a Phalanx on the field or a dead Dragunity, switch Light Pulsar for Mesillivan. If I got Light and Darks in the grave, I'll just switch out Mesillivan for Light Pulsar. This card gives this deck so much search and engine. Between the Ravine and this and Foolish, I don't miss Future Fusion because I summon that stuff from the deck. I'd rather it stick in the deck, so that way I could actually have my control over it. 1, 2, 3 Mystical Space Typhoons. You need it in this deck just for the simple part that the engine to go off, you can't worry about backfield. Valor is not an issue for this deck because more often than not you can go around Valor. 2 Valor sometimes can slow it down, but even then I've even been in a position where I've still been able to power on through and get my combo out. But backfield is an issue. I admit it. Backfield is a supreme issue. Especially with cards like Silver Sentinel and stuff like that. It makes it hesitant. So you gotta be smart when you play these cards. But still, MST has its functions, and with the meta the way it is, we have to focus on it, especially between double Torrential and double Mirror Force. Heavy Storm, same thing, but because of Starlight Road, I have to be even more precautious when I play this card. If anything else, this meta, between all the cards that are available out and about, you have to play smart. If you can't play smart, you're not going to survive the meta long. It doesn't matter how good your deck is.
Staple.
Monster Reborn. Hands down, great card. Why? Because more often than not, if I'm not using it on a Redum, I'm using it on a target for Redum or a Vadriana to go into a tomb. Like I said, hands down, great card. I've even used it on opponents' monsters on some occasion. Pot of Avarice. This deck mills out monsters to the point where I could end up using it on the first turn, but that's where it's a -2 because it's like, it's bad to use out so many monsters, but with my consistency, I always have more monsters as a backup. And thanks to a few friends passing me certain cards, I'm now never in a position where I don't have nothing. Double Fiendish Chain. Why? Zephyros can pop back and recycle them, or just in general prevent an attack and negate a monster effect. That's 3 functions that this card has for my deck. I love it. I love this card more than Bottomless, Deep Prison, among other things. Why? Because I can recycle it, and just based on those 2 effects alone. Always a great card. Yeah, Rabbit can get around it, but then again, the monster that they go into with Rabbit, either Logia or Dolka, they minus either having to negate one of these, or this just negates the Dolka, one or the other. Solemn Warning. I pay life points, but you know what? I have cards that give me back life points. Thought Roller Archfiend on occasion has given me more than 2,000. He's paid for warnings in himself. And I paid these warnings to negate my opponent's pluses, so that way I don't need to worry about them trying to overextend. Last but not least, as a great staple, Solemn Judgment. No question about it. Obviously, Solemn Judgment, being its own kind of condition to negate almost near anything, always a plus. Like I said, this deck, it took me a long time to get it to the consistency level that it's at, but it plays so awesome. This deck is well worth everything I put into it. Dragunity, Knight, Vadriana. People can say whatever they want about this card, but it's an epic card. I used to run only 2, but thanks to a great friend, which is also a team member of Team Unknown, which is Wolverine, he got me the 3rd one. I admit it. Dude, I gave him his credo, and I still owe him for what he did for me there. But no joke, 3 of them, I went against Machina Gadget today, and I used to lose against them because of the 2. With 3, I ran them over them like nothing. Such an epic play and plus. Dragunity Knight, Gator. Gator, he's pretty much a Ravine as far as it goes. Believe me, it's worth it no matter what the situation. Iron Chain Dragon. Sometimes I don't always have a winged beast, so I have to go into another level 6, and Brio's gone, so great plus because of a 25 beater and a level 6. Stardust Dragon. 2. Why? Because 1, I'm always going to synchro in, and the other one I'm going to either remove from Malefic or also synchro in. I need to... Obviously, yeah, 1 signed by Greg Abbey. You say voice actor. Loved it. Was awesome. And he was cool. But altogether, double Stardust is really necessary for this deck. It always is with Malefic and sinking into so many 8s. Thought Ruler. Gives me back life points. Negates a magic or trap that targets him. I can't really name reasons why he wouldn't be ran. Honestly, especially with this meta. There's a lot of cards that target. Colossal Fighter. Sometimes I need a beater that powers on through, and against heroes, it's good. Scrap Dragon. Like Pulsar play. All over again. Trident Dragon. Sometimes I use for Malefic. Great play in general, especially for OTKs. Utopia. Sometimes they Valor my Ducks when I have Zephyro, so I go into Utopia play. A Tomb. A Tomb, no matter what, always a great situation. I always go into the 6s, and I could always go into red 'em from deck. Strike Bouncer. Negate monster effects more often than not. I recycle enough to always go into him at least by 4 or 5 turns. Gaia Dragon. Always uses out my 6s, so that way I'm always able to go into a more functional situation. The meta. We're going to be dealing with heroes. Puppet Plant all the way, especially against those spellcaster decks, which people know are going to be happening. Side deck, people. Electric Virus. Machines are back. Dragons are slightly here. Hands down, no reason why you shouldn't be running this. Double 2. Marionette Might. I'm seeing a lot of Dark Worlds, and among other things, maybe other Fiend and Zombie decks might pop out. This will take care of them. No matter what, as a deuce, you'll always draw into one eventually.
Deuces.
DDR. People will try to remove my stuff. This brings back my stuff. Redem got removed twice today, and this brought him back twice. I never had to worry about it. Traps. Done. Sometimes you got to get over those traps, and it allows you to do it. Chain Disappearance. You never know. It always came in handy in the past, and I keep it just in case. Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. Negates dark effects in general. It's good from grave and field, just in general. And One Light Imprisoning Mirror. Overall, great deck. There's not really much else I can say about it. Overall, this deck has carried me so far. I wouldn't be half the duelist today if it wasn't for this deck. Alright, I probably went way too long, and I apologize to everybody here. But, like I said, this deck needed its credo, and there is a lot of specifics to this deck. A lot of people have to be very technical when running certain things. Yeah, you may say it's autopilot, but there's a lot more to it than just that. Alright, well, this is Warzone signing off. And, like I said, wish you all farewell. Like.
Yep.